Hello. What is the Jewish approach to superstition? That's the question that we're going to deal with today, and it's going to be based on this week's Parsha. In this week's Parsha, we have a very interesting story about the Parsha starts, it's called Chayei Sara, the life of Sara, because it actually talks about the death of Sara. Sara, the first matriarch, dies. She wasn't young. At the age of 127, she dies. And then Abraham is looking for a place to bury her. It's a whole long process of how he buys the cave of Machpelah. And in a normal year, this Parsha, Chayei Sara, is a Parsha where thousands of people go to Hebron around to be praying there at around the Machpelah cave. And that's unfortunately today doesn't happen. The police says no one's allowed because of the corona. But anyway, the Parsha still talks about it, whether the corona is there or not. And then after Abraham buries Sarah, he realizes that Yitzchak is old enough to get married. His son from Sarah, his only son from Sarah, needs to get married. Abraham doesn't want Yitzchak to leave Israel. Yitzchak is the only one of our forefathers who stayed in Israel throughout his life. He never left Israel for a minute. And so Abraham, he doesn't want, on the other hand, for Yitzchak to marry the local girls. All those nations living here, they're not his cup of tea. So he says to his very loyal servant, his old servant Eliezer, please, will you go to my family? There are a few days away from here, and please go there and find a wife for my son. That's what Abraham says to Eliezer. Eliezer says to him, are you serious? How can I find a wife for someone else? Each person needs to find a wife for himself. So Abraham tells him, well, what are you worried about? God is going to help you. So Eliezer says, oh, you're right. God is going to help me. Bye-bye. And off he goes. And in the middle of the way, he catches himself and he says, what is this? I understand that God helps and talks to Abraham, but he doesn't talk to me. How am I going to find a wife for someone else? What is this? How can I find a wife for someone else? So he says to himself very naturally, if that's my mission, let me try. And how am I going to try? I'm going to say that this sign, I'm going to give this sign. And my question for today will be, is the sign that we're going to hear now, is it superstition or not? Is it something logical or not? Because we are going to see that if a black cat walks by me, then I'm not going to go out. That's superstition. That is not allowed to be said. But Eliezer says to himself, listen carefully, I'm going to be standing there at the most romantic place of the Tanakh, which is the well. Let's call it the pickup bar. And I'm going to go there and I'm going to approach a lovely girl and I'm going to ask her to drink. If she not only gives me very willingly and with a big smile, but she will also give my camels to drink without me asking her, then that is the wife of my boss's son. Then that's the woman that I'm looking for. That's what Eliezer says to himself. And so I'm sure he thinks that he's going to drink lots of water before he gets to the right girl. Maybe he's going to speak to many girls before. And on the first one that he meets, the first one that he approaches happened to be Rebecca, who is the daughter of Betuel, the son of Nahor, who's Abraham's father. Exactly what he's looking for from the family. He doesn't know that. Remember this, it's very important. Eliezer does not know that this girl that he's approaching is actually from the family, but he asked her, let me give you the words in the Torah. It says this beautiful words, the way he says it, Vayarotz ha'eved likrata, he runs towards her, Vayomer, Hagmi'ini na me'at mayim mikadech. Please, will you give me some water from your bucket? Straight away she says, Vatomer shte adoni, vatemaher vatored kada al yada vatashkeu. She says, yes, I'll give you to drink, but not only that, as soon as you finish drinking, I see you came from a long way and you have many camels here. I'm going to give each one of them water enough until they finish drinking. The Torah says Eliezer came with 10 camels. 10 camels, each camel can drink dozens of liters. You can imagine how many times Rebecca had to go back and forth to the well to get the water out so all those camels can drink. For hours probably. But she doesn't get tired, and she doesn't stop, and she doesn't cut corners, and she makes sure that all the camels had enough, that all the tank, you know, the back of the camel is a water tank. It's not really, but I'm looking at it that way. Until the tank is filled with water, and so they don't need to drink anymore. Eliezer is shocked. Exactly as he said, it happens. And so he doesn't know what to do. So he jumps on her, not touching her, but he puts on her, he brought on those camels, he brought 10 camels filled with gold and all kind of jewelry, and he gives her straight away, without even knowing who she is. He gives her some jewelry, and he asks her, who are you? Only after he gives her jewelry, he asks who you are. And she tells him for what family she's from, and she invites him to come to her house to sleep there, to her father's house. And he goes there and he sleeps. And it's a beautiful story that Eliezer goes to her father and he says to him, you know, so and so I said to myself, and it's exactly what happened. This is the right girl. It looks like it's from God. Betuel, Eliezer's, Rivka's father, says, you're right, it's from God. So Eliezer says, okay, so let me take the girl, say goodbye. But Betuel doesn't want to say goodbye to his daughter, so he turns to her and he says, he realizes it's closing on him because it's really the right thing. So he turns to Rebecca with a very angry, or should I say, scary face, and he says, Betuel says to his daughter, do you want to go with this scary man? And lo and behold, surprisingly, Rebecca says, of course, why not? As we say in Hebrew, zoremet. She goes with him, and she doesn't think twice. And this girl, however old she was, don't ask me how old she was, but she goes with Eliezer to the unknown, and there we see the most beautiful story, romantic story of the Tanakh, where they come closer to Abraham's area where he lives, and from afar, Rebecca sees Eliezer, and she says Rebecca sees Yitzchak, and she asks Eliezer, who is that handsome man? Who is that beautiful person? And that's in this week's parsha. And so Eliezer says to her, that's the shidduch, you know, that's the person you're supposed to be married. You're going to marry him. So Rebecca says, whoa, I didn't expect to be such a treat. And she falls off the camel and she covers herself, playing hard to get. Yitzchak sees it from afar, and he's full of kindness himself, and he runs to her and he says to her, let me help you up, babe. And so he helps her up, and he brings her home to his mother's, to be his mother's replacement, you know. And the Midrash says it so beautifully that as long as his mother was alive, the tent was full of life. Abraham's house was filled with life. There was always a good smell of cooking, and always a nice candle there lit, and warmth and everything. And once Sarah died, it all disappeared. As soon as Rivka came into that house, all those things came back. I can move on and carry on with that story, and I wish I could because beautiful stories of the Tanakh, but we came here tonight to deal with a totally different story. Was Eliezer okay? Was he right to do such a sign? What's the connection between someone who agrees um, willingly and without being asked for to give water to the camels, to the fact that it's actually the right person for to marry his boss? And you can easily say that this does make sense. And the signs that don't make sense are signs that have nothing to do with anything. For example, are you allowed? Let me give an example of signs that don't make sense. I gave you a list here. If you say, on Friday the 13th, I will not do any business, I won't leave the house, it's filled with bad luck. I want, I'm building a house of 20 storage. I don't know if in Holland they do the same, but floor number 13 doesn't exist. No, it does exist because in America they're scared of it. And I'm not going to walk under a ladder because it's bad luck. And if something bad happens, I'm going to knock 3 times on wood. So it pushes away all bad luck. And what about, I don't know if you've been to Israel, I don't know if they do it overseas, but in Israel, we have this big thing. You go to the kotel and some old woman will give you a bracelet, the red string that they say came from the grave, the tombstone of Rachel Imenu. Is it allowed? Is it not allowed? What's the connection? What about not to sit at the corner of a table? And then you won't get married for 7 years if you do. What about throwing coins into fountains? Is that allowed or not? I deal with lots of Russians, and they have all kind of things that I've never heard of. And they say, I don't know if you heard of that, but they say you shouldn't whistle. You don't whistle in a house. You don't, if you don't throw salt, and if salt was thrown, then you're in trouble. And you don't throw, if you cut your nails, you don't throw them on the ground because someone's going to have a miscarriage. And what about the black cat? All those questions I'm going to try and answer because they have nothing to do. They have nothing to do with Eliezer. Eliezer did the right thing. We can say he is not obligated to all those laws of the Torah. And the Torah says very clearly, Tamim tihiyeh im Hashem Elokecha. Tamim has got a double meaning. Tamim means naive, innocent. Tamim also means complete. Tamim in Hebrew means that you complete in your with your God. You don't try to go and find all kind of detours and go around and try to do all kind of things by talking to the dead or by doing all kind of magics that you can go around God. It doesn't work. The Torah says you're not allowed to do all those things. The book of Dvarim, there are few verses there talking about all those things. Lo yeh lecha kosem, me'onen, menachesh, mechashef. Another pasuk, another verse says, Uvechukotehem lo telechu. You're not allowed to walk in the way of the nations where I'm giving you their land. They do the wrong thing. And the rabbis learned a whole lot of things from it, which they call darkei ha'emori, the ways of those non-Jews that live here in Israel before you. You shouldn't do what they do. And we're going to see in a second examples for that. In the third pasuk I found in the Torah, it says, Lo tenachashu. Did Eliezer do nichush? Nichush is a guess. Don't guess. Don't try to turn to all kind of voices or read in the cards or in the hand or in the coffee that you turn over and all those things that people make money from. Don't go that route. Is Eliezer correct by guessing who is going to be the wife of his boss's son? Well, the first answer is all those laws are for the Jewish people. Eliezer is not Jewish. No problem. Ben Noach, a son of Noach, is not obligated to do all those things. Not a problem. But I want a deeper thing than that. And the deeper thing would be that actually Eliezer did not guess. He was actually using his logic. As I hinted already before, Eliezer says to himself, if I ask just for a glass of water, and this girl will turn and give water to all my camels, that's a sign that she's filled with kindness. Listen to the beautiful message to all of us. Most of us are already married, but tell your children that how do you choose a wife? How do you choose a husband? The first thing, a kind person. Someone that will do, as we say in Hebrew, Rosh Gadol. Someone that will act of kindness, that will do more than is expected, more than is asked. And Abraham's family is filled with kindness. Abraham is, as we said last week, about allowing guests into his house and all those things. And if Abraham is such a person, then he needs to marry such a person, meaning Yitzchak, his son. And so therefore, Rebecca is very much appropriate for that. So he doesn't even ask what family you're coming from. You are the right person. That's not so simple. Many rabbis disagree with that, and is Eliezer doing the right thing or not? It's a whole long discussion between the rabbis whether he was okay or not. But bottom line for us, I won't solve that problem about Eliezer. You can think about yourself. I want to talk to you about all those things that we shouldn't guess, about all those things that are very much superstitions, things that we know from all over the world. But bottom line, it goes like this. If what you say makes sense, if what you say is logical, then you can go that route. But if the sign that you give is something that is irrelevant, then don't go there. It doesn't make sense. What's worse than that is if the sign was taken as what we call Darkei HaEmori. It was taken from all the nations that actually God said, don't be like them. Don't learn from them. They have been here in Israel and they don't deserve to be here because they act that way. Tamim tiyeh im Hashem Elokecha. Let's look and learn a little bit about superstitions, because I made some investigation and I found out that the whole concept of Friday the 13th that you find in all the horror movies is actually coming from the last meal of Jesus, where he had 13 people there. There were 13 people there, and it happened to be on a Friday. And therefore, for the Christians, it's a bad time. Jews say, who cares? We don't care about Jesus. We don't care about all those things. On the contrary, the number 13 is a very positive number for the Jewish people. We have Bar Mitzvah at 13, and we have the 13 we learned, if you remember, the 13 principles of faith, and we have other 13 principles that we learn from all kinds of angles. And I read something beautiful, and now again I'm telling you something from the Kabbalah. Someone asked me a question here. You're great. Oh, thank you. You took my trend of thoughts. The beautiful thing. I'm going to teach you Kabbalah a little bit every time, a little bit the secret Torah. We call it Pardes. The secret Torah, the numbers are very important. And the number 13 is the numerical value of the word Echad. Echad is one. God is one. Echad, Shema Yisrael Adonai Elohim Adonai, Echad. Aleph is one. Chet is 8. Daled is 4. Together it's 13. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Aleph is 1. That's God. God is 1. 8 is the symbol. If you put it on the side, it's the infinity. It's never ending. God is eternal. He's above the 7 heavens, and that's number 8. He's above nature. In Judaism, 7 is nature, 8 is above nature. And that's why we do the Brit Milah at the 8th day, because we are born complete, but God asks us to participate in the making of His creation a much better thing, and therefore you participate by doing the Brit Milah on the 8th day, which is the infinity, the number of endless. And 4, God is to all directions. Echad represent God. God is 1, and that's the number 13. It is also the number for Ahava. Ahava is love. You'll be surprised to hear that 13 times we are commanded to love God in the Torah. 13 times, because 13 is God. And it's a beautiful way of looking at it. And it's as if the nations around, the Christians, let's say, they learned this. They knew it. So they are scared of that. They don't want those Jewish values. And they say, let's get away from this. So the number 13 represent our values that they are in war against. And so for them, 13 is bad. For us, it's very good. Number 2, I'm going to give you here 13. Let's see the time. I hope I'll be able to manage to talk about all 13, but I'm going to give you, deliberately, I chose 13 superstition things that so you won't be scared of that number. I could have chosen 50, right? There's so many superstition things. Number 2 is don't walk under a ladder that is against the wall. Now that is something that is so interesting. Again, you'll be surprised to hear it's a very Christian thing, because you are creating 3, what's the word for tzela? 3 walls, as if 3, someone help me. It's 3 walls, like you have the ladder that's like this, then it's standing on the wall, and you have the floor underneath, so it's the 3. So if you walk in between, you break the Trinity, which is so important for the Christians. That's the origin of that. And that's, again, something we shouldn't do. And so maybe we can talk about those that are scared to walk under a ladder, that if the ladder is old and someone goes on it and it's going to fall on you, whatever, that's okay. But generally, don't be scared. It is not a Jewish thing. You can walk under ladders. Are we allowed to, or just 3 or whatever? That's what people do. To avoid all kind of what they call ayn hara, or all kind of things that bad, the evil eye or the evil spirit or whatever. Originally, it came from, they believed that the evil spirits are in the woods. And so if you knock on a wood, it's actually going to get rid of those evil spirits. You'll be surprised maybe to hear that this is also very much connected to Christian traditions, because they touched the cross, which was made of wood. So the cross is wood, and they touch the cross so they can have good luck or whatever, they get all the spirits out. Similar to what we all say, I wish you'll be successful. I cross my fingers for you to be successful. That is also something that is Christian, which we're not allowed to do. Many people do, including religious Jews. People do that because they're not aware of the fact that they do tfu, and they knock on wood, and actually it's actually a Christian thing. And they don't realize that when they say across fingers, it's actually a Christian thing. So be wary. We're not allowed to do that. In Israel, you can find that if you go to the Kotel, I don't know if they still, I don't know what they make a living now that we're not allowed to go to the Kotel, what all those people collecting money and giving you those strings, what they do now. But they claim that if they go around with a red string around the tomb of Rachel, in Bethlehem, then it's going to be filled with positive energy, and it's going to protect you from all kind of bad things. You'll be surprised to hear that already 2,000 years ago, the rabbis said Listen carefully. I'll say the Hebrew so you'll believe me. הקושר חוט אדום על אצבעו, הרי זה מדרכי האמורי. 2,000 years ago already, the rabbi said that we're not allowed to tie a red string on our fingers. Now, if you do have, hide your hands so I won't see it. But I'm telling you, in other places in the Mishnah, Tosefta, it's a time of the Mishnah, that actually other rabbis said, you know what, it is allowed, and don't be so strict with the Jews, leave them alone, it's not really today, it doesn't mean anything. So too, rabbis today, especially Sephardi rabbis today, said, you know what, it's not so bad. If someone do those red string, that's okay, leave them alone. You won't find it in my house. The fifth now that I want to talk about is the Hamsa. Now, if I was talking about things coming from Europe, let's talk about things coming from the Muslim society. Hamsa is Chamesh. Chamesh is the kamea. Let's say kamea, a charm something that is actually for good luck. That they use the hand. I don't know if you've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it in many places. They use the hand for good luck, and you'll be surprised to hear maybe that I found out, it was news to me, I didn't know that, thank God for making this lesson, that I found out that actually the hand represent Fatma's hand. Fatma is Muhammad's daughter, and that's the five fingers that represent the five pillars of Islam. And so in Judaism we say this is nonsense, although, and I don't know who stole from whom, but also in Judaism we find that the letter Hey represent lots of good things against evil spirits. Hey is 5, right? And in many places, Jews also use this Khamsa, the thing of the hand, and but many rabbis say you shouldn't. Needless to say, you won't find it in my house. What about Ain Hara, the evil eye in general? Now, Ain Hara is a very mystical thing that people believe that if someone is jealous of me, then I'm going to suffer from it. And so in many societies, in Jewish part of that, in many societies, people use all kind of things against those evil eye that someone will talk badly about you. And so people don't show how much money they have, and they don't, they very try to be humble with how beautiful they are, or especially with babies. People are very scared with babies that they won't attract this evil eye. And the majority, it's mainly with the Sephardi Jews, but also Ashkenazi. It's coming from all over the world. People are very careful of showing off with their success, with it's good. It's good not to show off, but at the same time, Ain Hara, is it allowed or not allowed to look at it seriously? Now again, the Talmud already talks about it more than 1,000 years ago, and they talk about Ain Hara in a very interesting way. And they say you don't have to be scared of it, because you can always say, I am a descendant of Yosef, Joseph, son of Yaakov, and Yosef did not have Ain Hara. Why? Because it says, Ben Porat Yosef, Ben Porat Alei Ain, meaning Alei Ain, Ole Ain. We shouldn't be scared of the Ain, of the evil eye, because I'm coming from Yosef. There's another explanation there, which is beautiful also, that it says about Yosef, he get the blessing, V'yidgu larov bekerev haaretz. Yidgu from the word dagim, fish. And what's nice about fish, that they're always under cover. They're always under the water. So if the water covers them, then there is no Ain Hara, because no ayn can see them. No eye can see them. And so the descendants of Yosef do not have a problem with Ain Hara. Many rabbis were trying throughout the generations to talk to the Jews to stop being scared of Ain Hara. And they said to them, the Aramaic statement, not Hebrew, Aramaic, it's beautiful. It says, Man de lo kapid, lo kapdin behedya. Meaning, if someone is not scared of the evil eye, then he won't be damaged by it. Who get damaged? Those who are scared of it. But if you're not scared of it, nothing will hurt you. It won't affect you. And so, very naturally, even I would say, bli ayin hara. Many people say that naturally it comes to us. But if you're not scared of it, you won't be affected by it, and don't be scared. Number 7, should we or shouldn't be sitting, if we're not married, at the corner of the table? Where I was trying to search the origin of that custom. I wonder if your country, where you come from, they have that funny thing, because it's actually coming from Europe, I think. Eastern Europe, it's very common that you don't sit, they're terrified. You don't sit at the corner of the table, you don't sit on a corner. And I didn't see the origin of it, but I read something that someone wrote, which is, trying to be clever or logical, and they say, why do you sit at the corner of the table? If the table is too full and you push yourself to the corner where it's not so comfortable, and you actually, by doing that, you give space to other people, you are actually the opposite of not ready to get married. You are ready to get married because you gave space to other people, and that's the recipe for successful marriage. And so if you sit at the corner of the table because you give space to others, it's actually very good advice for someone that you should get married definitely within 7 years. Or you can look at it from the other angle and you say, if you sit in a corner, it's actually because you're scared and you're not sure where to sit, and you don't know whether you're sitting on this side or that side. So you sit actually on a corner. Then you're not there yet. You're not sure who you are yet. You know what? Wait a few years before you get married until you להסתגר על עצמך, until you know who you are. That's other way of looking at it, but it's all with a smile. Don't worry. You can sit at the corner of the table. Nothing bad will happen if you don't believe in it. What about a shooting star? If someone sees a shooting star, you can ask a request and it's going to work. Well, in Judaism, we have a blessing. I don't know if you know, but we have a blessing for all kind of phenomena in the world, that you see nature in its strength. If you see the greatness of nature, for example, even if you see a lightning, or you see all kind of other things, huge falls, or you see earthquake, whatever you experience, huge things of nature, then you can say the bracha, Baruch atah Hashem melech haolam, oseh maaseh bereshit. That's a bracha we say. We're not scared of it. We don't think the dream will come true. We don't turn, God forbid, to turn to the star that was gonna fulfill my dreams. No, we turn to God, and if you turn to God, all your prayers will be answered the way God wants them to be answered. Okay, not the way we want them, but the way God wants them. Whether you saw a shooting star or not shooting star, it doesn't make a difference. What about those coins in the fountains? In Israel, it doesn't happen. I don't know if it's because people are misers, or because we don't have fountains in Israel, but you hardly see coins, people throw them in the fountains. Well, I read something very interesting, that they say that it actually, hundreds of years ago, they realized that special, the silver, it's got antibacterial effect. So if they throw it in the water and they drink from the water, it's actually going to help you. It's going to be healthier water. Well, today we don't need that, and people still throw the coins in the water. So be it. Let them waste their money. We don't do that. It's not a Jewish thing. It's irrelevant. I'm coming to the Christian customs of not to throw salt. Again, there is no known tradition of where it comes from, not to throw not to throw salt, except for the Jewish very important halacha. We're not allowed to throw away good food. That's another halacha, but it's not specifically about salt. It's about any food. Are you allowed to whistle in the house? The answer is no problem. You can whistle as much as you want, not a problem. Are you allowed to throw your nails on the floor? The answer is you shouldn't, but not because of superstition, whatever, something's going to happen to a pregnant woman, but because we don't throw away any parts of the body. In Jewish tradition, even when I cut my hair, see my beautiful haircut? I did it to myself, thank you. And so when you cut your hair or your nails, you put them in a plastic bag and you put them in a bin, or you put it in the nails in toilet paper and you put it in a toilet, you flush it down the bathroom. That's not a problem. You can do that, but not to throw away, not to just throw it irrespectful way. You shouldn't do that. And we came now, lastly, to the black cat. When you see a black cat, is it a bad sign? This is the most famous superstition thing. If I had time, I would ask you if it's from your country as well, because we have people here from all kinds of countries. It's interesting to note. Please raise your hand if you heard it in your country as well, because I think it's something that is you find everywhere. You find everywhere in the world, which is something interesting. You'll be surprised to hear that in some places it's actually bring good luck. But I can imagine why people think it's bad luck, because the cat, can you see the eyes of the cat? The cat is something, I found a scary picture. It's something that people are scared of, because if you walk at night and you don't see the cat because the cat is dark like the night, and you just see the scary eyes, the green eyes staring at you with those things, then obviously you're going to get a fright. Obviously you're going to think it's something of bad luck. Don't be scared. It's not bad luck. Everything is okay. I think you should hug black cats and white cats and any cats. They're all beautiful. And if you lead your life according to those cats, it's very bad. Don't be scared of them. They're beautiful and they're clean and they don't bring any bad luck. Bottom line, last minute. Tamim tiyeh im Hashem Elokecha. Tamim tiyeh. You should walk God's ways innocently and naively and completely. If you follow God's ways, no superstition will harm you. The Torah tells us how to do the right thing. Don't talk badly about people. Don't eat chametz Pesach. Don't. You should pray. You shouldn't do anything bad, and God will look after us if you do all the mitzvot, and you don't have to be worried about all the superstitions. That's all for tonight. Thank you very much.